The next title challenger for UFC strawweight champion Zhang Weili could very well be determined on Saturday night when Joanna Jedrzejczyk takes on fellow veteran Michelle Waterson in the main event of UFC Tampa. Hello everyone, my name is Danny Segura and welcome to MMA Fighting's UFC Tampa preview show. Joining me to break down all the action from the card is UFC commentator Brendan Fitzgerald. First of all, Brendan, thank you so much for doing this. How is Tampa treating you?
Oh, Tampa's great, man. One of my best friends ever lives like less than a mile from the hotel, so I've been able to hang with him a little bit. I was down here in this hotel for a wedding, for his wedding earlier this year. So just came back. I know the area, and I love being able to walk to the arena. And the arena's right across the channel. It's been great.
Yeah, for sure. Beautiful city. Well, the way we like to do things here at MMA Fighting is we're going to work our way from top to bottom.
Sure.
Obviously talking about, first off, the main event of this card. Before we get into the actual matchup, a lot was made before that. Obviously, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, her weight issues, Combate reported earlier in the week, I believe around Tuesday, that she was having weight issues and she was looking to book or rebook the fight with Michelle Waterson to a catchweight bout.
Right.
We saw her on the scale. She did not look like she was having any issues whatsoever to make weight. She was in good spirits, smiling. Were you surprised to see that?
A little bit. I think Joanna is just a head game master, if you will, at this point. Like, I found out on Wednesday morning, we all saw the Twitter rumors. That was the day that I was traveling, and it was like, oh boy, what's going to happen? So you just kind of wait and see. Yesterday, a Thursday, we had fighter meetings, and Joanna met with us, and she was like, I'm good, telling the same things that she was telling you guys at open workouts and things. And then at the end of the fighter meeting, she looked Bisping dead in the eyes. She says, but I'm not making weight. So we'll just have to see what happens. And then Bisping was like, she's messing around after, but it all kind of gave us pause, and then trots up on the scale and gets under 116.
It's ridiculous. I really do think, I mean, the rumors were obviously reported, and I'm sure there's some truth to that. But as I said, she looked in great spirits. She was smiling on her way to the scale. She, had a half a pound to go. She could have easily weighed in at 116. It looked like she didn't have any troubles. Right. And we noticed that throughout the entire fight week, or at least the last 2 days where we didn't really know what was going on, Michelle Waterson was a little bit upset at the news. You think it was that? Mind games from Joanna Jedrzejczyk?
It could have been mind games. I think when we met with Michelle the day before, she seemed very calm and collected about the whole thing. Like, I'm going to make weight. If she doesn't, I'll get paid and I'll fight Jessica in New York. And they had a lot of negotiations behind the scenes for contingency plans. In the end, I think we all get what we want, where it's like we had a fun little rumor storm to help us get to fight week and always keep things interesting, and then we'll still get the fight that we want.
Never a dull moment in MMA. So let's talk about the actual matchup. We know that Tatiana Suarez, has been destroying the division, and her rise to contention is legit, and a lot of people consider her the number one contender. However, she is having some health issues with her neck, and she's been pretty. She's made sure to put on health in front of contendership. Does it seem that this bout between Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Michelle Waterson, keeping in mind that Tatiana Suarez is out, is this the number one contender bout here at strawweight?
You certainly could make that case. So you have Zhang Weili, you have Rose Namajunas sitting out there. We don't know. Andrade just lost, so she's not going to get that rematch. It would appear. You never know what's going to happen. Tatiana, Nina Ansaroff's coming off a loss at 4. They're not going to put her in off of a loss. Then you have 5 and you have 7 here. And Zhang Weili just got the title shot and won it inside a minute when she was 6 originally when that fight was booked. So, yeah, I think you can make a lot of cases now. There's no guarantees, and it's not like we're calling this a title eliminator bout, but I think that is the big story heading into the night is, yes, the winner of this could very well be the next person to fight Zhang Weili, because keep in mind, 42 seconds in China, and she's got not a scratch on her. So she can stay busy and active as the champion now, and we'll just see into 2020 what the schedule looks like and how the cards shake down and the locations and that sort of thing. But I think absolutely the winner on Saturday could be your next challenger.
Who do you think would have a better chance if victorious? Joanna Jedrzejczyk, I mean, she's, I believe, 1-3 in her last 4 bouts, but nonetheless, still a huge name in the division. Yeah. The most dominant champion we've ever seen at that division. But we also have Michelle Waterson, pretty big name herself, on a 3-fight win streak. Who do you think a win would put in a better spot here?
Yeah, I hate to do that because it's like then I'm almost predicting this fight this weekend if I say they'll match up better with Zhang. I'll say this. I'll be interested to see what the Vegas line is if Joanna fights Zhang Weili as somebody who defended the belt 5 times. She fought Valentina. She's reached the highest of highs. So it's like, I'd be interested to see that kind of coin flip against Zhang Weili on a 19, 20 fight win streak, whatever it is at this point. Whereas Waterson's coming into this weekend as the underdog. She would definitely be a sizable underdog if she gets it done against Zhang Weili. I'm talking about Waterson. Yeah. So I think you just have interesting ways for each of them. They each have the things that they do really, really well. We'll see it play out, and then ultimately, whoever fights Zhang Weili next, whether it's Rose or whether it's the winner of this matchup, will have earned it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to ask you for a prediction because I don't want to put you in hot waters and you have a job to do on Saturday night. So let's move on to the co-main event. A pretty interesting bout involving longtime veteran Cub Swanson and jiu-jitsu legend, jiu-jitsu royalty, I should say, Kron Gracie. What do you make of this matchup? It seems that Kron was asking for really big fights and wanted really big names. But at the same time, we've seen that storyline of young guys, of prospects, getting rushed a bit too quick. Do you like this matchup considering, who Kron is and what Cub Swanson has done in the sport?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, when you look at Cub, 4 in a row that have not gone his way. He says he feels like the best he's ever felt at 35 years old. He's got 3 kids at home now. So life is different for Cub than when he was really competing and kind of in the conversation as possibly getting a title shot soon. I think it's a good matchup for him. He wants redemption. He fought on the BJJ mats 15 years ago against Kron Gracie when he was 20 and Kron was just 16, and he lost that one. He feels unfairly treated by the judges, so he's like chomping at the bit for redemption. Kron's like, I remember it, but I don't know, this is 15 years later. I was 16 years old at this point. You can't compare that. I like Kron's. Everybody wants the toughest fights. Yeah. He's a Gracie. It's like saying you're a Manning and you play quarterback. You're gonna get treated differently. I'm not saying that it's unfairly that he's getting this shot against Cub. I think it's a fight that makes sense. He's undefeated. He's a submission guy. Cub's a black belt on the other side. That let's see what he has in MMA, because Cub is obviously well versed now at doing everything. I think it's a fight that makes sense, and I think it's cool that Kron is he's kind of got that Nate Diaz mindset of I'm going to do what I want, and if not, then I just won't do it, And so it's we've seen it work for Nate. We'll see if it works for Kron. Yeah,
and you just touched on this a little bit. Cub Swanson, on a bit of a skid, I believe it's 4 losses in a row. But man, you just talked to him during the week, and he's so zen, he's so relaxed, almost as if he were, on a win streak. What do you make of that? And are you impressed of his demeanor, this entire fight week?
My first UFC card that I called was Fresno. He's in the main event against Brian Ortega. So that's for the first time I got to meet Cub and talk to him. And he was on a winning streak back then, getting ready to maybe fight for a title if he beats Ortega. And he's had the same demeanor the whole time. I almost expected sometimes when I called his fights in Ottawa, I feel like I called another one in there too, to have a different approach or a different mindset. But that just speaks to these fighters, man. No matter what happens behind them or what's ahead of them, a lot of them are so solid between the ears. And that's truly what the mindset needs to be at this level. And I think he has it. I think he hasn't lost it. And we'll just see if he can kind of show the form that he's says I've had in the gym, haven't been able to show in my last few fights. And
Kron Gracie, an interesting character. Yeah. What do you make of his potential here in the UFC? Obviously, we know he's very skilled. Could he potentially be a big star? Because, he's got the name, right? The royalty, right? Hickson's son. It's a big deal. But at the same time, he doesn't like to do a whole lot of media. He said it takes a lot of energy from him as well as social media. And we know nowadays, the trash talking era is very big. What do you make of his star level potential here?
I think that he can be a cult hero for this sport, depending on what you like. Obviously, jiu-jitsu fans are going to really like him. And not every fighter needs to promote the same way. And it's been proven by a lot of different things. You don't need to be the brash, outspoken guy to promote fights. It helps sometimes. It helps with the sound bites. But if you become a guy who is just bulletproof on the ground, just the skill is so good, you don't need to talk much. You can have this quiet confidence that people gravitate towards and love to watch, and then you don't want to miss it. So I think that, obviously, his path to being a superstar, if he were to become one, would be different than trash talk, soundbite, that sort of thing. But it still can work.
Yeah, for sure. And he has this demeanor that just kind of catches your attention, unshakable. Yeah. And I think the 209 Nate Diaz affiliation doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. It certainly helps. I mean, we've seen what Nate's done, 3 years off, but if he was in the front row at an event and show him on a celebrity shot, he would do something that got the MMA world talking. And so we'll just have to see what his buddy Kron can do.
Yeah. That's going to be a fantastic matchup in the featherweight division. Let's move on now to a welterweight fight. James Vick going up a weight class, taking on Nico Price. He feels like he's, potentially, fighting for his job here. 3-fight losing streak. Do you agree with him? Because I do think like not so long ago he was a contender at lightweight. He still has a recognizable name, and he's put on exciting fights. What do you make of his standpoint towards his career and where he's at?
I think that he is very refreshingly candid about his situation all the time. Yeah. When he was winning a lot of fights, he was calling for what he felt he deserved, main events against the top people, and why wouldn't he? He had a long winning streak. He had a lot of finishes. He always made weight at 6'3", at 155. Now he's like, I'm out of the rankings, so time to start anew. Paul Felder, he lost a fight and then he fought up a weight class against Mike Perry. Not a totally same thing, but he was like into the rankings. He's like, no, I'm at lightweight, I'm in the rankings. Why would I jump up to welterweight? For James Vick now, it makes sense. And he's been refreshingly candid about how it's happened. He's not blaming the weight cut. He's saying, I had technical issues. I would leave my chin up. I would put my hands down. And at the top level, when you go against the best guys, you lose. So I need to fix if I want to be among the best, then I need to fix that. And if I'm not going to win, then I'm not going to be able to fight among the best. And that's what the UFC is. So he's always a guy that has known what he is and known what he needs to do. And if you like him or dislike him, you have to respect his honesty in how he handles things. I don't know if, I never like to be like, he better win this one. I've heard a ton of fighters say, I thought I had to win this one, and I lost it, and I got a fight of the night bonus, and I got a new contract. Yeah. So he's had success sometimes off of losses in terms of what it's done for his career, depending on the type of fight and what's come from it. We'll just see what it brings here. Yeah.
And I think the Nico Price is a great matchup and a great way to test if he's really fixed those holes in his game because, Nico Price is not an elite guy. He's a guy that's coming up, but nonetheless a guy that swings often and swings hard, so he'll put that to a test. Also, another important fight.
One of my favorite fighters.
Oh, Nico's great. Yeah.
I love that guy.
I saw that guy come up in the regional circuit in Fort Lauderdale, fighting in tiny arenas, and that guy's been 100% himself the entire time.
And his wife's got a 5th kid on the way.
Yeah.
How does he do it?
Yeah, the interesting life of Nico Price. One more fight I want to talk to you about, Mackenzie Dern taking Amanda Rivas. Very important fight. It seems Mackenzie Dern had a lot of haters, a lot of fans as well, for various reasons. One of the big ones was her weight. She was struggling with her weight, and we know how fans feel when fighters miss weight. But after the pregnancy, it just looks like those issues were gone. I was talking to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm like 117 like a day ago," and we saw her on the scale, no issues at all. How important is for Mackenzie Dern to be able to make weight for her brand, and if she wants to continue on climbing the rankings in the UFC?
Yeah, I mean she's one of the brightest strawweight prospects there is, if not the brightest in terms of her name outside of the UFC in the jiu-jitsu world, and obviously she believes 115 is her weight class. I think there was some talk like some people wanted her to go up to 125 to take a fight there. Maybe this is the division for you, and she was like, no, I can do it. I'll be fine. I think what's most shocking is like a lot of people, she had a baby 4 months ago, and for a lot of people it's like, you take off the baby weight, it's tough to get your body back, tough to do that.
It makes no sense.
She looks better than ever. I think being a parent motivates you in a way that you didn't know existed. In terms of how, not in terms of like, I want to win for my daughter, son, whatever it is. It makes you a different person a lot of times. Not for everybody, but a lot of people, it makes you live a different way. Obviously, you have responsibilities like never before, but sometimes it makes you take care of yourself like never before because now you're taking care of something else. And perhaps that's done it for her in terms of her lifestyle, and then also crossing over into her athletic career. And we're seeing the proof that she made it with no problem. She's smiling the whole time. She's having a great fight week, and she's got a great opponent on the other side. So it's the perfect time for her to get back. It's the perfect matchup for her to get back in.
Did you have any concerns of her coming back this quickly? I mean, now we saw her make weight and everything checks out, right? But before that, when she was booked for the fight, I mean, she just had a baby 4 months ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a woman. I'm not going to be able to speak on that. So it's like I can't sit here and be like, she shouldn't do it or she's fine. That's not for me to say. She's still breastfeeding, which is fantastic. Go as long as you can on that. It's the healthiest thing possible. She's going to be breastfeeding Moa, I think, in the locker room an hour before she makes the walk. I don't know if that's ever happened before in the UFC. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting circumstance. It's not for me to say whether it's right or wrong, and like I don't think it's for anybody to say whether that's right or wrong. But it certainly is just something that's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible that she's back, and if she looks good doing it, even more so.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, obviously, 100% Mackenzie Dern's decision to do this. But, even Michelle Waterson was like, whoa, I'm surprised it took me 10 months to get back to training, right? So even less than half of the time. Before we go, any fight that you'd like to highlight? This is a sneaky good card.
I love this card. I love this card a lot. Top to bottom, 14 fights. And you just look up, when they first sent it to me and knew I was calling the event, it was like, nice, because there's just like fighters that you like to call their fights. The one that really jumped out at me was Matt Frivola, Luis Pena. Frivola called this fight on the Contender Series, fell in love with that guy immediately, just like a nice kid, really good, business-like attitude, was an athlete. He went to the University of Tampa, so he's going to have the crowd going. I called his fight in St. Louis. He had like a ton of fans in St. Louis for his debut when he fought Polo Reyes, and they were chanting all night long. I was like, this is fun. And then he makes the fight fun because he just swings like crazy. And then Luis Pena, I've called several of his fights too. He's always fun. He's got that long stance. He's the violent Bob Ross. He's got that persona from Tough. You got a Contender Series against the guy from The Ultimate Fighter. That's the one that I was like, nice. Yeah. That's going to be a good one. If you asked me to pick a fight of the night before the fights start, I'd guess that one.
Yeah. For sure, that's a fantastic fight. And I just want to quickly highlight Marvin Vettori versus Andrew Sanchez.
Yeah.
For those who haven't seen the face-off, I encourage it because, man, the stare-downs this time around were really good, every single one. Yeah.
Davison Figueiredo is also, I'm looking forward to that fight against Tim Elliott because Davison's like fight of the night flyweight type of guy. Marvin was right back there. I said, are you going to get in his face? And he's like, we'll see what he does. And sure enough, Sanchez was the one who started it. Yeah. He came out. Those two had words. They were supposed to fight in Vancouver. They didn't. Talked to Andrew after. He's like, he's just a loudmouth punk, but he's not really that tough. That's a great fight, too. There's a lot of fight of the night possibilities. That's why, when we looked at the card, awesome.
Marlon Vera also on that card. I mean, the card is really good.
Chito's my pal. Yeah. Alex Morono and Max Griffin. Love those guys. I mean, it's great. It's stocked.
Fantastic card. Well, Brendan, thank you so much for joining me on this preview show. Guys, keep it locked to MMAfighting.com. We'll be here all week long providing interviews, everything you need. All the goodies will be there. So make sure you keep it locked to MMAfighting.com. Thank you so much for tuning into this preview show and enjoy the fights on Saturday night.